And I hear that happened for a few of the rest of you as well. But thank you so much for being here during this incredibly busy time. By the way, I'm Terry Wallace, and you're going to be seeing me a lot today because I'm going to try to kind of hold this thing together and guide us as we move through, and it's going to be a fantastic day. Let me make just one quick point, too. I want to thank Mike Bilden, who worked with some of the rest of us to put together that video. So thanks, Mike, for doing that. That was really cool. All right, and now we are really lucky to have our senior academic leaders from all three of our institutions here to welcome us. We have Dr. David Hood, Provost here at Minnesota State Mankato. We have Laura Attenberger, who's the Vice President of Academic Affairs at South Central. And we have Heather Conley, who is Vice President of Academics and Innovation, right? Yes. And she is from Riverland Community College. I'll get to the other two later. We are going to start with Provost Hood, who made transfer a priority here at our institution almost 3 years ago. And that's what got it on my agenda, and I love it. So here we go.
Good morning. Thank you, Terry. So some of you may wonder, well, why was transfer a big issue for David? So when I was interviewing for the role here, I was doing my homework and looking on the website, and it was so confusing. It was confusing because it was Minnesota State Mankato, then you had Minnesota State, and they were talking about the transfer pathways, and I was just like, okay, what do I do? So I did my homework, and I called, and I said, hey, I have a son, and we're looking to transfer in to Minnesota State Mankato. How would we do this? And I still haven't gotten an answer. So I said, okay, that is an opportunity for us. If I happen to get this job, we have got to work on transfer. And I had, in my previous experience, I had known that, when you solidify your transfer pipeline, that it really, really helps the institution to continue to grow and to thrive and to serve students better. And so, Terry, thank you for taking up the mantle and passing it off to Shauna now as we continue in this work. So good morning and welcome to Minnesota State Mankato. On behalf of President Inch and the entire university family, we appreciate you all for making time to convene here today to continue our work together to improve the transfer experience of our students as they pursue their academic degrees. We have over 130 people registered here today, so give yourselves a round of applause. Representing all three institutions, our system office, and this is a true testament that it takes all of us to really serve our transfer students in the best way possible. I encourage you today to take the opportunity to learn from each other, to generate new ideas, and when you leave here today, make sure that you go back to your campuses and insist that those ideas don't just go onto the shelf, that we actually implement them and we begin to make changes that are going to really help our students to improve. And what does it mean to improve transfer experiences? It means that their courses and their credits will count in meaningful ways towards their degree completion. It means that they will receive the same information at each of our institutions about how they might progress through their chosen degree plan. It means that they obtain clear guides and user-friendly information. And it means that they know how long it would take them to graduate. And the goal should be that when they finish their time at South Central or at Riverland, they should not exceed 120 credits when they get to Mankato. So we still have cases where we have students who are, at 140, 138. That shouldn't be the case. We have said in Minnesota that most students will finish a degree in 120 credits. And it doesn't matter where they start in the system, that should be the case. We shouldn't cherry pick courses just because they took it at institution X or institution Y. We all have learning outcomes, and when they map, we should count them. So since 2009, an average of 30% of Minnesota State Community College students who go on to a 4-year university transfer to Minnesota State Mankato, while 70% of them enroll at universities outside of our system. Did you hear that? 70% of the students who leave our 2-year institutions go to other places outside of Minnesota State Mankato, outside of Minnesota, outside of the system. So we have 7 great institutions for a year, and we're not the first choice. We have to change that. And I think that this is the work that has happened through this grant is a great start for us getting that done and making things better. We had our IR office, our Institutional Analytics and Planning Office, to pull some recent data. And for our Fall 21 cohort here at Minnesota State Mankato, and those who graduated by 2024, it took them on average 2.47 years to complete. They amassed 65.8 credits once they were here at Minnesota State Mankato. They had, on average, 83.1 credits to transfer in, and it took most of them, on average, 148.9 credits to complete. That's 28.9 additional credits that they shouldn't have to take. So I challenge you today to let's see what we can do to improve these averages. Our collaborative work is beginning to have impact. And with increases in new transfer student enrollment to Minnesota State Mankato from both South Central and Riverland Community College, I urge you to continue to find ways to ensure that students have a clear path to complete their academic work. I ask that you really immerse yourself in the day, silence your cell phones, and really soak it all in. Thank you for the work that you've already started, and I look forward to all of the amazing outcomes, and most importantly, I look forward to the continued success of the students that we serve. And I will now call upon my partner, and we have lunch once a month and strategize and talk about things, but the VP for Academic Affairs at South Central College, Laura Attenberger.
Okay, got it.
All right, I had a lot of mics. There you go. Good morning, everyone. Thank you. Good morning. This is a great day. This is an awesome environment for all of us to be in, and I'm really excited about the work that we are going to accomplish today. So on behalf of South Central College, I would like to welcome everyone here. I am honored to be working with each of you and really honored to be a part of this collaboration. Each of our institutions have had really meaningful conversations and have taken some very thoughtful action to enhance and improve the transfer experience for our students. And that experience is such a pivotal moment for our students, isn't it? While it can be filled with a lot of excitement and opportunity, and students can really see where they're going, there can also be some challenges and uncertainties along the way. So the work that we are either about to engage in, some of which will be discussed today, some of which we've already started. There's been a lot of work that's already been done. Will help to eliminate those challenges and eliminate those barriers and create the truly seamless pathways that we all want to see and provide the necessary support to help our students thrive at every stage of their academic progression. So this summit is an opportunity to strengthen our relationships and engage in meaningful dialogue, as well as develop the strategies that will not just improve our processes, but really make a positive and lasting impact on our students and their success, whatever that looks like for them. So each of you bring a unique insight and expertise and commitment to this work, and I commend you for that. And by working together, we can create an experience that empowers our learners and fosters their long-term success. So I encourage you all to be open and creative throughout today's discussions. I want you to keep a solutions-focused mindset and know what you're doing has an awesome power to transform the lives of our students and elevate their educational activities. So thank you for being here today. Thank you for all that you do each and every day for our students. And I will now turn it over to our colleague, Dr. Heather Conley.
Good morning. Thank you, everybody, for being here and joining us for this really critical conversation. I'm relatively new to Riverland. I've been here since July. I've also taken on most of our student affairs folks' oversight as an interim VP for strategic enrollment and equity. So I have spent this year learning a lot more about the work that they do, the awesome work that they do. And so I was so happy to be invited to the table for this conversation. I myself was an accidental transfer student. I had no intention of going to college, actually. And somebody that from my little hometown of 1,500 worked in the registrar's office, saw me wandering around North Iowa Area Community College one day and pulled me in and said, "You have a full ride scholarship. You need to get here and get registered." I left NIAC with 49 credits. I had no clue. I didn't even know at that point that I was working on an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree or anything. I was pretty naive, first generation college student. And I was part of that missing middle. My parents made just enough money to where I didn't get scholarship support, but not enough to where I had a tuition fund. And really hadn't intended to go to college. I was giving somebody a ride so they could register for classes that day. So I did 2 years at North Iowa Area Community College. I ran into a lot of the same barriers that students who stay in their hometown run into. I was hanging out with all the people that weren't going to college. And my mom took me aside and said, "If you're going to do this, do this." And so I transferred. I earned my 4-year degree at Northwest Missouri State. Went way out of state. And then went back to Iowa and finished my master's and PhD there. But I never really lost track of the idea that it was all just a bunch of lucky things that happened. My transfer process went really smoothly. All of my credits transferred, and a couple of my credits gave me more credit hours than what I was awarded at NIAC because they were worth more at Northwest Missouri State. So I really did luck out. But I did graduate with 172 credits as an undergraduate, which was a lot. I wandered around. I didn't know what my major was going to be, those types of things. So this is why this is so important, is not just passing the paper between our colleges to get into these agreements, but to have these very real conversations about how do we get these opportunities in front of our students? How do we recognize some of the hidden parts of the transfer process for them, the extra classes that they have to make sure they take to get into this specific program, not just into the college, and to really think about these transfer pathways as ways to point students and to kind of shine a nice light on some really great academic opportunities, and not just that general education piece without helping them find the right major. And so having you guys here and able to talk to each other today and have those conversations and identify those issues that we can't very easily put on paper, is really what we hope, another piece that we hope to accomplish today. So welcome. I'm so excited about the work that we have in front of us, and I thank you all for coming out today.
We have some pretty awesome academic leaders, yeah? I mean, they get it, and so that's really super exciting. Thank you all. Next, we have Minnesota State Tackling Transfer Initiative and our specific Collaborating for Transfer Student Success. And we're going to start with a welcome from Dr. Shauna Albers. Shauna is new as of June? June. And she is our Associate Provost for Faculty Affairs and Learning Innovations here at Minnesota State Mankato. And so I'm going to welcome her, and she's going to welcome you.
Good morning and welcome everyone. As you've heard, I'm Shauna Elbers, Associate Provost for Faculty Affairs and Learning Innovation here at Mankato. And I'm just really delighted that you have all joined us to attend the Collaborating for Transfer Student Success Summit. We are extremely proud to partner with Riverland Community College, South Central College, and our system partners to host this conference on our campus. We have participants here attending from across institutions and departments, and we also welcome you all here. As you've already heard, MSU has a 28% transfer student rate here, and we are interested in collaborating with all of you to increase those transfer numbers, not only here, but across our institution. We certainly believe that transfer student success is through collaboration, conversations, and across our campuses. We also take seriously our state mission to offer a high-quality general education and seamless progress towards a bachelor degree, regardless of where students start their education. We are so grateful for the leadership of Dr. Terry Wallace, as well as the leadership of Dr. Laura Anneberger and Dr. Heather Connolly and their teams for all the work that they have done to launch this event. We also express our extreme gratitude to our system partners, to Kelly Ponto-Watchrin, Jessica Milgler, Jonathan Hamilton, and to all of you, to all of our staff and our faculty, as you have worked really hard to this past several years to collaborate, to operationalize the state mission, to increase our transfer capacity, and to engage with us in partnership. I would also like to thank our wonderful facilities team for the work that they have done to prepare for this event. We are excited to spend the day with you. Thank you again for joining us, and welcome again to MSU and to this Transfer Summit.
Yeah, thanks, Shauna. Really appreciate you. Next, Jonathan Hamilton came from the system office to join us today. He is the program officer for the grant or the initiative that we received. And so take it away, Jonathan. I will move it to the next slide for you. Maybe.
Good morning, everyone. It's really great to be on this campus. I was telling others, it's my first time being on Mankato's campus, and happy that the roads were not that bad, but it's great to be here and great to see everyone. I'm here to share about the funding program that is helping to provide opportunities for this event to occur. In the spring of 2024, Minnesota State College and University employees applied for Innovating and Collaborating Toward Equity 2030 funding to develop, adapt, or expand collaborative strategies towards eliminating existing inequities, gaps, or predictable patterns related to student transfer experience. For fiscal year 2024, each awarded project had a focus on equitable outcomes connected to tackling transfer. The project that brought us all here today, Collaborating for Student Transfer Success, is one out of the 7 projects that received a funding award. It gives me great joy to see the fruition of this important event be carried out in hopes to have sustainable impact at all collaborating campuses, Minnesota State University Mankato, South Central College, and Riverland Community College. Thank you to all the students, faculty, staff, administrators, and campus communities for your continued work, commitment, and resilience to meet your individual and collective goals towards tackling transfer. And I do want to give us a special thanks to Terry Wallace. It's been a joy working with her and her team, and I look forward to seeing what this can do. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thanks for making the trek down here. We really appreciate it. All right, everyone, we are just cruising along. So I'm going to take a breath and maybe slow the roll just a little bit. But be sure as you're here, help yourself and refresh as you want to. Let's see, we're going to move to the next slide. Why am I pointing there when I should be pointing there? I teach on Zoom all the time now, so I forgot about that. All right, thank you. Really appreciate you. So this is our logo, if you will, for our Collaborating for Transfer Student Success initiative. And you can see all three of our institutions up there as well. What happened is last year, about this time, Laura, who you met, and Judy Andrus, where are you? Can you stand up? There she is from South Central. JD, Jennifer, Dean, where are you? Yep, there's Jennifer back there from Riverland. At the time, Heather mentioned that she's newer. And so that group of people, we worked together, and based on the work that we were doing together, we decided to come up with 5 different actions, key actions for this particular work. This work is not just about the grant, though. It is about our systems and our institutions to continue into the future. Shauna will be leading that, is leading that. And so it's important to know that this isn't something that just comes, the grant funding is here, or the system funding is here and it goes away. It'll live on. All right, there we go. I know the print is small, I'm sorry. You have this in another place as well, but these are our key actions. And so the top one, the first one, is the Transfer Summit. That's where we do all the things that our senior academic administrators were telling us. You know, we want to find ways to help our students, make sure that the credits they are bringing in count in meaningful ways. All those things that they were mentioning, we want to try to learn more about those things on our various campuses and from the guidance that the system office can provide based on the various tools that exist. A lot of us maybe don't know just exactly how those tools could really make a difference for the work that we do. Another one is transfer advising guides. You all know we have transfer pathways, we have articulation agreements, we have lots of different ways that we describe the way we're going to work together institution to institution. International institutions too, right, Will? Yep, and so those are very, very important. And then sometimes a transfer advising guide might be needed in a more informal way. Maybe it's not a articulation agreement, maybe it's not a firm transfer pathway, but maybe there are some things we can put in place that help students know exactly what they should do next in order not to take extra courses that don't count and things like that. And we have a team working on that, and you'll hear more about that as we go. But those are some of the conversations we hope will be happening today. Another one is our on-site student support at community colleges. Some of you attended the big open house, I think we had a different name, at South Central last year. And we have an office space there. It has, you know, you can go there, meet with students. It's really awesome. And so we're trying to have more presence. And it doesn't just mean an office, right? It means that we're making predictable, communicated time, we meaning the university, to be on two-year college campuses to help students, help faculty, to work together. And so you'll see more and more of that, I think, as Shauna will report out over time. Another thing that we did, Minnesota State University Mankato folks, how many of you know about the website work that's been happening over the last while? Yeah, you do. Well, this initiative helped to put some additional funding into making the transfer website even more student-friendly, student-effective. One of our transfer advisory board people said, you know, you can be transfer friendly, but if you're not transfer effective, was his terminology, then what good are you? Well, anyway, we're working more and more toward that. And then also, we got to look at our data, right? We have to look at our data to know how we're doing and how we're doing for all of our students. And so that is continuing to happen as well. So those are our 5 actions. Now I'm going to move on to our summit. Hang on just a minute, I have to get my water. So we have the CTSS Transfer Summit Planning Team. Will all of these people please stand? Up you go. All right. Honestly, now recognize that we have faculty, we have staff, we have advising, registration, we have from all 3 of our campuses. These folks have been working together over, well, quite a while, making sure that today looks as it should, that it offers up the things that we need, and they've been outstanding. I want to just highlight a couple things if I could. First, I want to point out Jessica and Kelly are here from the system office, and they met with us multiple occasions so that what they share with us is what our planning team thinks we need. That planning team, again, from each of the campuses, from a variety of positions. So it should be really good. I'm really hoping you like it. I think it's going to be fantastic. And so I really want to thank our system office colleagues for spending that time and having that dedication for us as well. Can we give them a hand? Okay, just a couple more. Shauna mentioned it already too, but I want to thank the CSU, those preparing our food, Robert and his team for the recordings, and all the people who made this happen, especially Mai Chung Lee right over there, everyone. Yeah, seriously, amazing work. You know, she's amazing in what she does, and Shauna and I were just talking about the attitude she has when doing it, just couldn't be better. So deeply grateful to that. Mike Bilden, too, thank you for the extra work you put in, and I really appreciate it. Tressa Flo worked, and Will, Becky, and Abby, too, on securing our transfer student panel later on. So again, thanks everyone for the extra efforts you've put in. Okay, right now we're going to move into what does the day look like. All right, and you have a program in your bag. I think it's greenish, right, Mai? Yeah, light green. So please pay attention to that because it's got a bunch of information that's going to be really helpful to you as you negotiate the day. I want to point out a couple of things, and gosh, I'm sorry, this is really small. But in a little bit, Jessica is going to stand up and do a brief update on our Minnesota State transfer-related initiatives. Comes at a timely time. There are lots going on. And then after that, we'll have the transfer student panel, and there is a way that you can ask questions. You'll see that. There is a phone number where you will text in a question, so be ready for that. And then at 11:15, we'll have a little bit of a break, and you'll move on to the breakout sessions. Now, we did our best based on the registration information that we asked from you to estimate how many would be in each area because we've organized these into, they're tables. And so we're hoping to really get some dialogue among those of you who represent these different areas, whether you're faculty members, advisors, students, support, registration, admissions, or administrators. We had 23 administrators sign up for this, which I honestly didn't think we were going to have quite that many, so it was pretty awesome to see. During these lunch sessions, and while we made our own assessments, you choose whatever you want to go to. That's where we want you to go. If we don't have enough seats, we'll make sure that we get them. But during these lunch sessions, everyone, we really want you to talk with one another, get to know one another as much as you can. There will be a facilitator in each of the sessions. So for the faculty, Laura and Shauna will be the facilitators for that time. For the advisor student support one, that will be Judy Endress. And registration, admissions, transfer roll, that will be Heather Conley. And then for our administrators, Michelle Musali. And raise your hand over there, Michelle. There's Michelle. During these, really get at some of the issues. You all saw the different question prompts that you will be discussing, right? And so be prepared, really put it out there. And then at each table, the facilitator is going to ask you to complete a group summary form. That form is going to be what we use. I'm going to create a report after all of this to hand off to Dr. Elbers. And so that's going to put all those good ideas in one place. And then you're going to have access to those too on the website, as well as the recordings and other things that come out of this event today. So remember, facilitators, remember tables. There's going to be a yellow group summary form that's going to need to get returned to me, to Mike, in order for us to do our next steps and take our next steps, I should say. Then you're going to have a break and you'll transition back here, all right? And what I want to say is we have bathrooms right up here. We have restrooms. There's some smaller ones down there. And so the folks out at the table can certainly tell you where restrooms are. Let me see. Our rooms are all on this floor. And as you go out, take a right, take another right, and they're all along there. So you'll be able to find, and down at the end of this particular room. So, all right, got that. I'm trying to add some things. I was going to put other places to take some time. Let me see, what else do I want to tell you? A floor down, there are some food places if you want to go, but remember we have lunch here for you. And I told you about recording, restrooms, breaks. All right. Next. Not quite yet, Jessica, but you're almost up. All right. At 1 o'clock, so after lunch, you're going to come back and we have a 1 hour, well, almost 2 hour session with our system office colleagues, and there's so much information in that PowerPoint. Let me tell you right now that I have received permission that I'll put that up on our site, and because they have some active links in there too, so know now that you're gonna have access to that, okay? That will happen. And then, so that'll be really rich. At 2:45, we'll have a break where you'll transition to the breakout rooms, and those will be our program area breakout rooms. We have education, health sciences, ag and food, and then we have an open one. That open one is because there weren't really enough people in each of these different areas, so you all are going to stay in here and work with Mike Belden and myself. So anyway, that's the plan. So with that, at this point, everyone, any questions? Sound good? Yeah? Thumbs up? All right, Jessica, you are up. You have your...
All right, can everybody hear me okay? All right, perfect. All right, well, welcome everyone. My name is Jessica Migler. I am the director for transfer. I just inherited my job and another job. So I'm the director for transfer now, so you'll see both in a couple places. I have been in the system for 15 plus years, been at Metro State University, M-State Community and Technical College, and Pine. So I've been in and around the system for a while. My pronouns are she, her, and I have been asked to come here today and give you all an update on the many, many, many things that are happening across the system. You probably are aware of them. You're probably exhausted from all the initiatives, but I'm hoping that we're doing some great things for the system and for our students. So these are the items that I'm going to talk about today. We've got quite a few things going on. Hopefully you're aware of at least some of them, if not all of them. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is our general education redesign. We'll talk about our transfer accountability framework. I'm going to talk about our Goal 7 work, our pilot common course numbering initiative, transfer agreements, and transfer pathways. So this is just going to be an overview of these initiatives. Some of these we'll be getting into more in depth a little bit later. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about today is our general education redesign. I'm hoping this is a timely thing for most of you, that a lot of you have seen that we just released the latest kind of update for general education redesign yesterday. So if you haven't seen that, check it out. Lots of updates, very exciting. Things are changing, so we're very excited. So I'll give you a little bit of background how this work came about. Now, I'll put that up there. I don't expect you to read it all. Basically, what it's saying is our transfer governance team got together and said, hey, the Minnesota transfer curriculum hasn't been updated in 30 years. Now, if you were around in 1994, 1995, you'll know things have changed a lot, especially with technology. They didn't expect the World Wide Web and the internet to be what it is. The world has changed a lot. And so we said, we really need to look at this since no updates have been made in 30 years. So the chancellor got together a group and said, let's take a look at this. Let's completely start from the ground up and take a look and see what our students need for general education. You know, just a small initiative. So a committee was founded. Our committee chairs are Dr. Jesse Mason, who is the Associate Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs at the System Office, and our co-faculty chairs, Aureliano De Soto from Metro State and Matt Dempsey from Normandale. So they brought together a group and they developed this timeline. So you'll see we've been working on this for a while. The group was convened in August 2022. Phase 1 involved taking a look from the ground up. Like, do we want to be the same kind of distributive model we have now? What are other states doing? What is our purpose? What is our goal statement? What is the name? You know, pretty lofty goals. So this took a lot of time to really come to an agreement as to what that looked like. So we came up with, through that process, a name and a purpose statement and developed that we wanted it to be a distributive model. So right now we are only in phase 2. That's what was just released. A small subcommittee spent a year looking at what we were calling domains, or what we've called in the past goal areas. Kind of what do all the little nuggets look like for that transfer curriculum. So they decided to stick with the distributive model. And I will show you the philosophy statement and name that was developed. It's a great philosophy statement. If you've read through it, it's pretty lofty. And so they looked at this and they also said, you know, Minnesota transfer curriculum, there are a lot of our students that interact with this general education curriculum that don't have anything to do with transfer. Our students that start at the university, our students that are at colleges that are doing certificates or diplomas or AAS degrees that may never transfer. They may, but they may never transfer. So what do we really want to convey to students? So the group came together and we changed the name to Minnesota Foundational Studies. So that's going to be a big change for students. Some people said, you know, we're just getting students to understand what the transfer curriculum is, but I'm hopeful that this will be kind of explain more what this does for students. All right, so Minnesota Foundational Studies, I'm going to show you what was just released yesterday. I'm hoping at least some of you have seen this. So the proposal that has been brought forth is that there are 3 sets of requirements. This is on our SharePoint, so I know this is fairly small. You probably can't see it, but these are the core requirements. So you'll see here, a lot of this is pretty similar to what we're seeing in the current Minnesota transfer curriculum. The big difference is that these are the requirements for all institutions. So gone are the days that somebody has 3 credits in Goal 1, somebody has, or 3 courses in Goal 1, somebody has 2 courses in Goal 1. We've come together as a group and said, these are the requirements for all of our students. So that, as somebody who works in transfer, standardization is my favorite word. I know it might not be some of yours, but this does move towards a little bit towards standardization. Now, we don't have learning outcomes for these. Please watch, because there is going to be a call put out asking for communities of practice to come together and to develop learning outcomes. So we want those of you who have the expertise and those of you who are interested, we want you to be part of that work. So that will be ongoing next year. So then the next set of requirements are what we're calling embedded requirements. These requirements will have learning outcomes, but they're not going to have any courses associated with them. Again, this is a proposal. We're asking for feedback, and I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. What they're hoping is that groups will come together and say, here are 5 critical thinking learning outcomes. Well, maybe Goal 1 wants to adopt one of those. Then all Goal 1, what we call Goal 1, might be a domain or, requirement 1, will have that particular learning outcome. So it's a little bit hard to kind of grasp around, but the hope is then by doing all of those courses, all 5, 6 learning outcomes are embedded with that curriculum. So critical thinking is part of our current Minnesota transfer curriculum. Information literacy is going to be new, and I think we probably all are in favor of our students having a little bit more information literacy, especially in our current climate. So then the last part are exploratory requirements. And so these are 8 areas, and students would need to complete 9 to 12 credits with a course from each of 3 exploratory areas. So again, this is the proposal. This is what the group has come up with. This is also available on SharePoint. Kelly has helped me. We've sent it out to all of our transfer folks, our registrars, our advisors. So if you didn't, I think it also went out to the deans. If you didn't get it and you don't have the link, talk to one of those folks and they can send it to you. So again, this is the proposal that was just released yesterday. So what are our next steps? Right now, this is out for review and comment. So there is a video online that Matt Dempsey created. He's one of our co-chairs. And there is a survey. That survey is open until April 18th. So please fill out the survey. There is also a way for you to go and learn more and provide feedback in information sessions. So there are 3 separate information sessions. So what I would say is, I've been a part of this work for the past almost 3 years. It doesn't work unless everybody gets a say in it and everybody can provide their opinion. As a student affairs type person, we are very faculty heavy, understandably. So we'd love to hear, I personally would love to hear some more student affairs feedback on that to see how this will actually work for students. So that is the general education curriculum. Like I said, I'm on the steering committee. I don't speak for the general education committee. I'm just here to present to you what has been sent out publicly. So then the next thing that I want to talk about is transfer accountability. We call this a couple things throughout the system, but I'll give you a brief background. So about, I think it's 2 years ago now, the Board of Trustees was hearing rumblings about our transfer pathways. Transfer pathways aren't working, universities aren't accepting credits, colleges aren't doing what they're supposed to, lots of talk back and forth. And so the Board of Trustees said, all right, what is going on with transfer pathways? And so they brought in an outside agency to do a full audit of transfer pathways. So that went on for about a year, lots of questions, probably some of you talked to those folks. And what came out of that were some recommendations from the audit committee. And so then we changed academic procedure. So there's a link in here, so when Terry sends that out, if you really want to have some light reading and read our academic procedure, it is right there. I've gotten questions about this, so what I'm going to present to you has gone through the shared governance process. It was brought to our transfer governance team, they made some edits, it was brought to policy and procedure committee, it went out for review and comment, and then it was adopted. So I've heard some people say, I haven't heard about this, and I apologize if you hadn't, but it's gone through a kind of a big process to get to where we are today. So the long and short of it is that we changed procedure and there are some new expectations for campuses. So one of those expectations is that all of our campuses will use the TEST system, which is a transfer evaluation system, to route all courses that are transfer courses for review. So if a student comes in, they've got transfer credit, and it needs to go out to faculty, that has to go through the TEST system. And part of the reason for this was when the board was doing the audit, they said, well, how long does it take for our students to know how their credits are going to transfer? Nobody knew because everybody does it a little bit differently. The board wasn't excited about that, so that's kind of why this came about. The second part of that is that when these courses go out for review, it's not to exceed 30 days. So a decision about the course transferability needs to be made within 30 days. Now, maybe that course is going to be reviewed for equivalency, maybe it's goal areas, maybe it's elective credit, but whatever that looks like, it needs to happen within 30 days, with the exception, we all know faculty are off contract in the summer, so we're not expecting that in summer, although I would encourage campuses to think about if students are waiting 3 months for a course evaluation, they might think about going somewhere else. So we want to think about those sorts of things. And then the third thing is implementation of transfer review and appeal. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. And so transfer review and appeal is a homegrown system. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is what is TESS. First thing I'm going to talk about is timeline. So this is the timeline. We started this February just talking to campuses, hey, this is coming. Start talking to faculty, who's going to review the courses in the English department, who's going to review biology courses. Start thinking about that. Then last month, we talked to our transfer folks, and we started answering questions and kind of getting folks ready to implement for our Wave 1 institutions. And then our Wave 2 institutions, will be training them next month. And it's mostly Q&A. This is a fairly simple system to use. Hoping to have all campuses trained by May. All of our faculty evaluators have accounts in TESS by July. And then the switch gets flipped. Everybody in August 18th will have this active in their system. So it is coming. So I'll give you a little overview on what this looks like.
Jessica?
Yeah.
When do you want to take questions? Do you have specific points?
If folks have questions now, I can take them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Mike Bilden, do you have that side? I'll take this side. Anybody have any questions that you'd like to ask at this point? Becky? Okay.
Hello. There we go. So how do we access the survey?
For general education?
Yeah.
So the PowerPoint has a link in there that you can access the survey, or you can go on to SharePoint, search general education. There's a general education redesign SharePoint.
So for me, SharePoint is a black hole where documents go to die. Mm-hmm. I need a link.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Can there be an email where, like, I don't know where this PowerPoint is located. I don't even know where the SharePoint information that you're talking about is. I know how to access the Riverland SharePoint, but I don't know how to access others. Can you just send out a mass email with that information on it at the end so that we all have it?
Yeah, if Terry can do that, it's also and I know this probably doesn't help because you probably haven't received the email, but it did go out to all of the deans, and it has, if you have that link that talks about the Gen Ed redesign, it has the link to the survey and it has the link to all the information.
I'm the faculty. I never received any of that
Okay.
information. Yeah.
So
can
Terry,
you-
I don't know if you could do that, or if we have any deans in the room that did receive that want to send that out to their faculty as well. I'd encourage that because I know there are faculty who are not here, but who might have opinions on that.
So I am faculty at Minnesota State Mankato, and we did receive all the links, and I
Good.
went to them right away to try to find those lists because as an engineering professor, this is going to be a struggle. What we don't have, what I only have because a faculty of member colleague watched the whole video and took screenshots. There isn't that nice summary. So we do need more information on the links that we have available because the list of basically the main areas and the credits are not findable right now. And that's the thing that we actually really need to respond to. Because right now, it looks like with my quick math, our 128 credit degree is going to need to be 136 credits. Unless we're really specific about whether math, science, and engineering classes can count for those other skill areas. So this is going to be a struggle.
Yeah, and
But we need the information.
Yeah, and I would encourage faculty too if. So I'm not leading the work. I'm just merely a committee member. But I would also encourage. I don't know if we have any. I'm assuming we've got some folks that are involved with IFO and MSCF in here. To also send that out to your IFO and MSCF folks to have that information. Kelly.
And I just wanted to add, if you got the email, sorry for those who didn't, but it's on a lot of COPs. We sent it to a lot of listservs, not just the deans got it. And you have till April 18th. I would encourage you to look at the survey. If that doesn't fill your needs, the people's names of who are on that committee, email them directly and email all of them directly. All your feedback. If you can't fit it on that survey, send it to them. We want to have, as Matt said in that video, we want everybody's voice in here, and so far it's been kind of a narrow few stakeholder groups to get to this point, and now they've opened it up. And so really take time to watch that video. I think that was really helpful. They did say that these names are placeholders so that they can tell the difference between our current system and what they're going toward. And so any feedback you have, advisors, registrars, encoders, please.
Anybody else right now for this part? All right. Okay.
All right. And like I said, it is not secret information. So if you did receive that email, check with your colleagues, send it far and wide, because like Kelly said, we need everybody to have feedback.
I also thought of a way that you can get to that SharePoint. If you go to minstate.edu,
So Kelly's saying if you go to minstate.edu, type in general education redesign,
you will get to the public facing,
you'll get to the public facing,
under the gray bar,
scroll down to the gray bar.
and you'll get to the SharePoint.
Okay, so go to minstate.edu, MINN state.edu, type in general education redesign, scroll down to the gray bar, select the one that says ASA Connect.
I don't find a gray bar. When I search
We'll try to get instructions and maybe share them after lunch. Perfect. All right. So I just wanted to let folks know, I know Mankato has started implementing the test system. I know some of our other campuses have, but for those of you who haven't, I just wanted to give you a brief rundown on what test looks like. Like I said, this is fairly simple to use, I'm hoping, for most people. We have implemented it on several of our campuses. The feedback I'm hearing is faculty who have implemented generally really like it. They find it easy to use. I'm hoping you find the same thing. So this is an example. I know this is small, but you can also find this on the College Source website. This is an example of what this will look like when it comes to you as faculty. So you'll see on the left is the sending course. That's a transfer course. And then on the right, our transfer folks have the ability to say, hey, this is lifespan human development. It's probably equivalent to our human development course. Now, this doesn't mean that this is the course you have to choose, or maybe even the course you want to choose. You can choose another course, but it's designed to just make it easier for you, right? Like, you can look at this and say, yep, this is great. Our transfer folks can also add a course outline to that if that's something that you need on your campus. Then you can look at it, you can click a little button, maybe. You scroll down, you complete the evaluation, and then they take it from there. Some faculty, I worked at Metro, and I know when we first implemented, people were like, what is the system? What are we doing? And then like a year later, everybody loved it. They've never disliked it. It's always been the best thing since sliced bread. So I'm hoping that is the idea on most campuses. The goal is to make this easier for you, and also to make sure that students' transfer courses kind of don't fall into a black hole. If you're anything like me, I get an email, and if I don't act on it right then, it goes off into the ether. So this is designed to make it easier. Yeah, we have a question. Oh, yeah.
Jessica, could you just, we can see the drop-down menu,
Yeah.
but like when it goes through the system, what are the options that faculty have when they're evaluating a course?
Yeah, great question. I did write this down because it is fairly small. So as faculty, you can deny the course and say, no, this isn't equivalent. You can say that you need more information. Some of our folks will say, yeah, I can usually tell from a course description if this is equivalent or not. So some campuses, that's their standard procedure, but then if they feel like they need more information, you can choose need more information. You can reassign it. So if you get this and you're like, that's not my area, or I think somebody in my department knows this better, you can reassign it. You can add or edit it. You can add or edit a support file. So maybe you're sending it to somebody else and you're like, wait, I have a syllabus or I have a course outline that I want to attach. Or you can close it, make a note, yes, this course is equivalent. So you've got lots of options on there. It's not simply, deny or approve. There are times you might need more information on that, and so you can choose those sorts of things. So lots of options for folks. And if you find that there's not an option here, we do work really closely with College Source. I think we're about to be one of the test super users, so we have a little bit of pull in maybe getting more options if there's something that you need. So if you think of something, let me know and I'll pass it on.
So on that first page, I see a course description as well as credits and any prerequisites. Are the common course outlines available at this point, or is that something somebody has to go outside of the system to find?
So usually it would be a transfer person that's creating this task. Some of our transfer folks will just go, to the page, grab the outline and attach it there. I use Metro as an example just because they've been doing it for like almost a decade, I think. A lot of their faculty will say, I don't need the outline, I'll let you know if I need it, so that they can just get through those pretty quickly. But some of our campuses are like, no, I always need the outline, and so that would have to be attached there. The one caveat is, I know we're all looking for more work, right? So you can, in your own courses, add a course outline to that in the system. It's not going to benefit you, but it would benefit other campuses that do pull that up. Then you don't need to attach the outline. So if you want to do more work and help your friends.
And in terms of transfer accountability, I work at South Central and work with a lot of transfer students transferring on to universities, and we always get a lot of pushback. Min-State policy is that it's supposed to be based off common course outline, but frequently I have students coming back to me asking for the syllabus of the class, which is the faculty's property. Is Min-State, do they have any philosophy or plans to step in to assist with that accountability of enforcing the policy?
That's a great question. We're going to talk about policy today, and I'm hoping by having that discussion that maybe we can get a little bit more towards following system-wide policy that's gone through the shared governance process and not asking for syllabi from in-state courses. Please don't murder me when we have that discussion, but we'll talk about that a little bit this afternoon.
Anybody else? Okay.
All right. So, like I said, you'll get this at the end of the day. I put a support center article here. So most of the test support help is public, so you can access this. This will walk you through with screenshots how to evaluate a course. So that link is there. And then there's also a 26-minute video. If you are faculty who will be evaluating courses, there's only about maybe 5 minutes. You can scroll through this. If you're creating these evaluations, you might want to watch the whole thing. All right. So the next part of this is our transfer review and appeal system. So transfer review and appeal has been mandated. This is a homegrown system that students find through e-services. This has also been ongoing for a little bit more than a decade. You may have not heard great things about it at the beginning, but we've been constantly making upgrades, updates. I'm hoping now that it will be useful for most folks. So what it looks like, and I've got a little bit of extra time, so I'll walk you through this. So when students go to e-services, most of you are probably familiar with this. Let's see. So when they go to academic records, here, you're probably familiar with degree audit, transcripts, all of these sorts of things. But when transfer review and appeal is turned on, students will see this transfer review button here. And so when students click on that, they have several options. So they can check the status if they've already done a review, they can edit their contact information, and then they can add a request. So this is what it looks like if they check the status. They can add contact information. And then most students are just going to go to the add request button here. I apologize, this wording has been updated. We are moving away from DARS because that is old language. It's no longer DARS. We're moving towards degree audit. This has been updated in e-services. And so when students go to the transfer review, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to say is, have you checked your degree audit? We want them to make sure everything looks correct first. If they've already viewed it, there we go. If they've already viewed it, the next step is to verify their intended program, and you'll see there's yellow wording here. This is not changing your major, but what it allows us to do is, if maybe something hasn't counted because they said they were an engineering student, but now they're an English major, we want to be able to reach out to the student and say, this is why this isn't counting. These are your next steps. For our students that already have courses reviewed, those are going to be shown here. This is my record, and I didn't have any courses evaluated here, so it's just giving me the option for a custom request. So if students don't see something, they can also add a course. If they have a regular request, all that course information will be shown here. If they're adding a custom course, they're going to need to add all that info. And then they have the opportunity to add documentation and then submit the request. And so then this goes to our transfer folks. Hopefully then they start a test evaluation. If appropriate, it goes to faculty. We can respond to students. I will say from my point of view, this is really game changing because it allows students to ask for a review, but then they can appeal if they don't like that review. And then they can appeal all the way to me at the system office. And the great thing about that is I can see all the communication that you have had with a student. So if a review comes in and somebody has said, hey, we need your syllabus, and then they've said, hey, again, we didn't get the syllabus, we still need it, then I can say to the student, we need the syllabus, we can't process anything until we get that. Or I can say, faculty already reviewed this, they said it's not 75% similar, and give them a little bit more of an explanation. So it really allows us to have that communication to kind of make sure that we're communicating with students and we're all on the same page. All right, so that's transfer accountability framework. Our next step is for campuses to determine reviewers. Hopefully that's happened. To set up a workflow. This isn't mandatory, but some of our campuses have said, hey, faculty have 10 days. From there, it's going to go to somebody else. They have 10 days. From there, it's going to go to somebody else. They have 10 days. And then once it's hit more than 30 days, it's going to come to the system office. We're hoping to run reports twice a semester, but we really want to get answers to students sooner. Our private partners are doing it within 2 to 3 days, so we really want to try to do the best we can to do this in a timely manner. Campuses should determine an email address for transfer, review, and appeal. That's all I need to turn it on, is just an email address, and then to do campus training if necessary. Any questions about that? Okay. So the next few are quick. So Goal 7, hopefully everybody has heard about the Goal 7 redesign. It started as part of our work with the law enforcement redesign. And they said, looking at Goal 7, maybe we need to add in a little bit more like anti-racism for that goal area. Went through a couple revisions, and it came down that there are 2 options for Goal 7. Option A, which is pretty much the same language that you're going with Goal 7 now, and option B, which is courses that are a little bit more focused on structural racism. This is a timeline. I know you can't read it, but I put it here just so we can see where we are in the timeline. So right now, we are at the point where decisions have been made, campuses should be encoding the work. So we had a deadline of May of 2024 for campuses to evaluate all of their courses for Goal 7A and Goal 7B. As you know, we've got a lot going on, didn't exactly happen. We gave a final deadline of December 2024 to get that done. As of fall 2025, all Minnesota State courses will either have to be Goal 7A or Goal 7B. There's no longer any just Goal 7, so as of fall. So right now, what should be happening, and I think it is, so all courses should have been examined for availability. Your institutions should have determined what Goal 7 looks like on your campus, what the requirement will be. And so we're in that final step now where our lovely transfer folks are doing the huge amount of work to get all those courses coded in. Transfer rules all need to be changed. It's a lot of work. So give your transfer folks on campus a chocolate bar next time you see them, because this is an insane amount of work, and because of the delays, they're going to be doing most of this over spring and summer. So. Any questions about that? Okay. Oh, yeah.
Relative to what you were talking about, the Gen Ed redesign and then this Goal 7 change, apologize if I just completely missed it, but can you talk to us about the fact that we're making these changes in Goal 7 now, which has been ongoing? Mm-hmm. What is the timeline that's set out there for a potential Gen Ed redesign to go into effect?
I would have to go back to the timeline, but I'm pretty sure it was fall 2027.
Okay.
Yeah, and what I've heard, I mean, this could change, is that leadership is really dedicated to making sure that we preserve these Goal 7 changes, and that was one of kind of the domain areas that was developed. So I'm hoping, because y'all have done all of this work, that will be maintained. Mm-hmm. All right, Common Course numbering, this is like a fear word. Like this is your nightmare demon here. But I promise you it's not as scary as it sounds. So my colleague Daniel De Morais and I started a Common Course numbering pilot. And this came out of, we have recently done a review of all of our transfer pathways. And during that review process, my now retired colleague Marta Moore brought up to every transfer pathway, hey, what do we think about Common Course numbering? Well, 3 of our pathways were like stoked about it, ready to go. And so we said, how can we support these transfer pathways? So we brought together a convening of the transfer governance team. I think Greg in the audience there for all his hard work on this. But I like to mention, because I've heard a lot of rumblings about Common Course numbering, this is a very limited pilot, and I will show you the courses in a minute. So leadership can change their mind at any time, but what Daniel and I have been tasked with is just this small group of courses, and if there is any expansion, what we've been told is it will be faculty-led for transfer pathways. Now, like I said, the chancellor people are talking about Common Course numbering. I've heard things from other people, but from what I've heard from leadership and what the transfer governance team has been tasked with, this is what we are doing. So we are only doing this with 3 disciplines. And again, these were faculty that specifically asked to do this. So there are 2 courses in accounting, financial and managerial, 4 courses in exercise science, foundations, or 3 courses, foundations, wellness for life, and weight training, and then 4 courses in Spanish, beginning 1 and 2 and intermediate 1 and 2. So you'll see 9 courses, very small pilot program. There we go. All right, so our transfer governance team has met to develop recommendations. We're having our last meeting of the year on the 7th. I'm hoping to get some information sent out today to the transfer governance team. We've met, we've talked about drafts. If this is passed, the next step is to convene these communities of practice in the fall, to have some parameters for them so we don't have 3 different flavors of Common Course numbering, and then to be able to implement that. So like I said, not as scary as it sounds, very small pilot. Transfer agreements, so this is one thing I was asked to talk about. There are some new changes. As many of you know, we had an old site back in the day, mntransfer.org. IT told me 2 years ago that it's old technology, they can't even support it anymore. It was breaking every day. They sunsetted that. They moved all the agreements to minstate.edu, but it still has that broken kind of backbone of courses being uploaded there. It's a nightmare. We have to reset it like every week. It's bad. And so IT told me they're not resetting it anymore, and basically said we have to move everything to SharePoint, both for that and for accessibility reasons. So they are currently working on that. I know it's not ideal, but the goal is to move all of those agreements. We will probably, for accessibility reasons, have to revamp the transfer agreement form. And then their goal is to have a public-facing site for HLC reasons that will list your institution and who you have transfer agreements with. Here are some tips and tricks for transfer agreements. Basically, when we do a transfer agreement, we need the sending program as is. I know sometimes there's this desire to say, well, let's put this course in, but sometimes students don't know until they've already completed the program that they're going to be transferring. But I will say is this, work with me if you have any questions and we can get this kind of fixed moving forward. Hopefully once the SharePoint thing is done, we'll be a little bit more caught up on these transfer agreements. But if at any point you have questions, please just contact me, because we do transfer agreements different than like any other state, and so we just have some really specific ways that we need to develop these agreements. And I'm happy to work with you and try to find a way to make it work for your program.
Jessica.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Is a transfer agreement the same thing as an articulation agreement?
Yes. Sorry. Yes. Except we don't use that language anymore. It's shifted before I moved to the system office. I think it's because students don't know what an articulation agreement is.
Thank you.
All right. So when you get this, you'll have access to the SharePoint that has like the checklist, the template, other resources, and then my email address is there if you need any assistance. All right, moving on. I apologize. I thought this was going to take a lot less time, so it looks like we're on schedule though. So we are going to talk about transfer pathways later this afternoon as well, so I won't go super in-depth on transfer pathways. Hopefully some of you are aware, hopefully all of you are aware of what transfer pathways are. So I just wanted to give you a little like breakdown what that looks like. So the colleges are responsible for including all of the required courses from the transfer pathway template. They're responsible for meeting all of the learning outcomes. They're responsible for supplying new crosswalks with new courses. And if an institution has a transfer pathway degree, that has to be converted. So you can't, like business is one of our most popular ones. You can't have a business AS and a business transfer pathway AS. You can have a business AAS, but you know that's getting in the weeds there. Basically, if you've got the program, it's got to be a transfer pathway. And then the university responsibility is to designate any receiving degree for majors with a transfer pathway. So if you have an exercise science program that's at the 4-year, you have to have it be a receiving degree for the transfer pathway. Our university should be maintaining accurate 3rd and 4th year maps. And then part of the transfer accountability was that the Board of Trustees said, okay, so if the college course meets 100% of the learning outcomes, why do we have different equivalencies for different courses across the system? And so they did mandate that we create equivalencies for those transfer pathway courses. I'll talk about that a little bit more this afternoon. Basically, I'm not telling you which course it has to be equivalent to. I'm just saying if it's equivalent to a course, it should be equivalent to any institution that offers that course. So like Spanish 1, I'm not telling you, which course it needs to be equivalent to, but just if you've got an equivalency for that Spanish 1 course, it should be standard for all of our transfer pathways. So our next step for our transfer pathways is that this fall, I will be sending colleges spreadsheets that say, hey, here are your transfer pathways. We need new crosswalks because you've got a new course. Or, hey, you took this course off your curriculum, but it's on the template. You've got to put that back on. So far, there are very minor changes, but I'm going to be sending that this fall to all of our institutions. And then the flip side to that is in the spring, I will be sending that updated information to the universities to say, hey, here are the courses from the community colleges, from the colleges. Now is the time to create any equivalencies that haven't been created. All right, so again, I've got a SharePoint link there for our transfer pathways and my contact information. I know that's a lot, I apologize, but any questions?
Okay, here we go.
Hi, your advice on this particular situation. I'm an advising director and I got an email from a faculty that a course for the fall will no longer be counted as part of a transfer pathway. So they're no longer taking the course that from South Central to count for their 3rd year students. What advice would you have on navigating that situation? Because obviously that's not friendly to our transfer students.
Right. So it would depend on if the student can still complete the degree at the university in 60 credits. And it would depend on if they're taking that course from other institutions. So maybe the receiving course is changed. They're not accepting any courses from any of our transfer pathways towards that. That's within their right as faculty to determine that. But transfer pathways dictate that the student still has to complete that degree in 2 + 2, 60 + 60, or 68 plus, whatever the total amount for the degree is.
And so what if it doesn't comply with the 60?
If it doesn't comply with the 60 + 60, we will be, let me know. and we'll be in contact. Because that's part of this, is that there really needs to be an audit of this, because we are finding that some of this, and some of it's just maybe our university partners, they've got new faculty, they didn't know. Maybe we're finding that a lot of maps haven't been updated because SharePoint's a black hole for a lot of people. So that's why we really want to kind of do this, I don't want to say audit because that sounds so ominous, but we want to let people know, hey, these are the things you need to change, just so that they're aware of that.
No, I'll do it, Mike, you do it.
Hi again. So I'm Becky Bates, and I have two questions. One is, so we talk about the 60 plus 68. If I look at Mankato credits, I'm at 128. If I look at some of the community college credits, our 4 credit classes are 5 credits there. So it works out to closer to 68 plus 68. And we actually say those 68 that we care about, those can come from the community colleges. We want 60 credits of upper division. So this, it's not the experience of just 128, because I need 4 4-credit math classes. And at the community colleges, they're 5 credits.
Yeah.
So that's a challenge.
Yeah.
The other one is, okay, I've been looking at all of the requirements for, especially for the what do you call them now? The extra requirements of areas that are not like a social science class, but things like ethical and moral thinking, we cover that in our upper division classes. Applied writing, we cover that in our upper division classes. So when we look at the foundation curriculum, if there's a requirement that all of that has to be done in the lower division, then we're getting up to 136 credits. If we can cover those areas of thinking and learning and skills in our upper division requirements, we're closer to just having the main requirements. So how do we deal with the challenges of credit mapping? And when we think about foundational studies for different majors, can we use the full four-year requirements to meet those?
Yeah, so for the first question, so there isn't a transfer pathway in engineering, but I know that there are some transfer agreements that come through in engineering. And usually what we do then is try to work through that to look at that. So if there is a 68 credit degree at the college, there shouldn't be, but I mean, it would depend on, we'd have to look at that. So if there are any of those that come up, we're happy to look at those and try to find a way to make that work. And that might just be, sometimes what we'll do is say, there might be an elective in there, and then we can say, hey, we recommend that you take this particular elective, and then it wouldn't count in the credits towards the university. But I'd say if you run across that for transfer agreements, let's work together and try to figure out a way to make that work, because I think there are ways that we have in the past. As far as the foundational studies, what I will say is these are very real issues that we're gonna have to tackle. And we're gonna have to tackle things like, right now you can't have career courses in the transfer curriculum. So like our education courses, our exercise science courses, a lot of those courses can't be in the general education curriculum. And those are questions that I asked, and we're just not quite there yet with the foundational studies to make that determination. I think that I don't think that there's a closed door on letting upper division courses be in the foundational studies, but I think that that's something that is going to have to be worked through. And what I would say is make those notes on that survey to let them know what those concerns might be, because as we move forward towards implementation, those are a lot of the questions that we're gonna have to struggle with and kind of look at what that looks like.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, my name is Abdi Sabri. I'm academic advisor from South Central College. My question is policy and approach, and I'm really happy that we are finally having this conversation, even though we are very late. And the reason I still think our approach seems bureaucratic, and still there's a room for bureaucracies to self-sustain and resist this change in a, and not make it happen in a timely fashion. And the reason I'm asking this question is California University State System has been through this process almost 20 years ago. And 10 years ago, one of their leaders came and gave a presentation to us, statewide, Minnesota State System, Student Affairs in St. Cloud State University. And they have gotten rid of, instead of trying to nitpick this and that, through legislation, they've mandated that there should be no 2-year degree, AA, general education, that does not connect to a 4-year path. So they got rid of it. And same thing with remedial education. Everything that we are doing currently, they've done it already. So why don't we copy that model and just leave nothing to chance?
That's a great question. I know that we looked at a lot of different, well, I say we. There was a subgroup of the General Education Steering Committee that looked at a lot of those models. And they went with the distributive model, but I'd say if you have recommendations, put that in there. I mean, I know California's done some really great things, and it's because of legislation. I know their community college system is now going through common course numbering for all of those courses. I mean, obviously, we probably don't want legislature to tell us how to do these things, but it's kind of the writing is on the wall that if we don't start doing some of these things, it's kind of a domino effect. About half of the states have common course numbering initiatives. General education, we're probably about the middle of the road for amount of credits, but I would say, this is off topic, but it's time to be bold. I mean, I go to a lot of these, go to some national conferences, and we're not on the cutting edge of things, especially related to transfer. So I'd love to see us try some new bold things, but it's also good to make sure that we're doing things that are tested and tried and true as well. So,
other questions? Who wants to be bold? It's a great time. We got her here. We're not letting her out the door. So anything else?
Well, and you have to listen to me more later, so it's better.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Questions
That's
so
true.
you don't have to listen to me now.
Okay, that's true. All right. Well, let's give Jessica a hand. And our student panel is going to start at 10:40. Is that right? Okay. So if you want to use a restroom at all or fill up over here, please do so, but be here right away, okay, at 10:40.
Three of us, unless Ty shows up. So I'm going to put this chair over here. Let's slide our chairs up a little bit, just so I just want to Sorry.
I didn't.
Could you please? No, joking.
I could. I am fine.
You'll be much better after today.
Okay, everyone, if you can please make it back to your table. This is, I think, going to be my favorite session of the day. No pressure, you two. 3, no
Has nothing
pressure.
to do with me.
I didn't do that. It was him. You see where you text the questions in and everything? Okay. So everyone, I want to introduce you to Brian Jones, who really doesn't need much of an introduction. I think most of you probably know him. He's the interim assistant vice president for enrollment management here at Minnesota State Mankato. So I want to thank again Tressa and Abby and Becky for working to put this panel together and for Brian to leading it. So with that, thank you, sir, and welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Terry. Very excited to join you all and to be up here on stage, not talking very much, which those of you that know me will know that's difficult. But my job is to just kind of get out of the way, and I'm really excited. We've got a couple of current transfer students here at MSU. Both of them happen to be from South Central College currently. Ty from Riverland, I believe, is on his way, but he also had a class, so we're going to see if he makes it. We'll get him up here as well. But really excited to learn a little bit more about your experiences and your stories, and hopefully help inform kind of all of us about how we can do this work better.
Yeah.
And so maybe if you would please, if each of you would take a minute to introduce yourselves, talk about what you're doing now at MSU, but maybe most importantly, take us back to kind of your college journey, if you would, and go back to when you were in high school and that pathway out of high school, and what got you to here for a little framing, please.
Sure. Do you want to?
I can start.
You want to start?
I don't know if this is on.
Or did you switch on? There.
Okay.
You are now.
Okay, you can hear me now. Hi, I'm Jess. I'm from Mankato. So do you want me to start with my high school? Like where I started?
Whatever you're comfortable sharing, kind of your path. What was your college path, like college search?
Okay, so my college path. So I went to South Central 3 times. The first 2 I went for nursing, which was not my thing. I don't want to touch people really. I do like to talk to people though, so I figured I should be a social worker because I like to talk a lot. So I went back to school for social work, and at South Central at first I was like super scared. 3rd time going back to college, I already failed twice. It was very scary. I lucked out and I got to become a TRIO student. I had a really great advisor. She's here. Her name's Mandy. She's fabulous. I also had Deb, who's also in the crowd. Everybody in the crowd, I feel like, has helped me at one point in my career at South Central. And then they really got me like intertwined in the campus. And they also helped me in the transfer pathway to MSU. So they got me like introduced with everybody at MSU before I came here. So honestly, my transfer situation was very, very seamless. There was not many hiccups, not many problems. So it was pretty great. So I'm at MSU now, about to graduate in a month. And yeah, I'm doing a internship in the child protection sector at Min Prairie County Alliance. I just got into grad school here, so I'm not leaving. And yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at right now. So yeah, that's my story, I guess. Yeah.
My name's Beth. I also came out of the South Central transfer pathway. And nice to see a few faces too, Deb and Abby. You guys were huge parts of my experience there. My journey with South Central and also Anoka-Ramsey, I actually grew up in the cities and lived there until 2019. I was in a different career altogether. When I was in high school, I actually had been accepted at the University of Minnesota for pre-med, but classic undiagnosed ADHD, I didn't know that was like a big deal. So I ended up not taking that, and I ended up working full-time for many years, and I ended up eventually going to cosmetology school. And I worked in various roles in education and professional development, franchise consulting, and like business coaching for a large franchise salon group. That's a national brand. So I also did like runway work and things like that. So I did a bunch of different things for about 11 years in the cosmetology industry and kind of traveled and worked across the state. So I started back at Anoka-Ramsey, finishing some generals for nursing, thinking that was my end goal. I wanted to go into become a nurse practitioner or an advanced practice RN in the like midwife field, like a certified nurse midwife. So that was kind of my long-term goal, and ended up starting around 2015 at Anoka-Ramsey in the cities. And I ended up leaving at that time because my husband and I, we were welcoming our third child, so it was kind of just a good time to pause. Fast forward to 2019 when we moved here, I started up at South Central in their nursing program and began spring of 2020, so January. There were some obstacles with that because of construction at the South Central campus, so we were traveling over to Faribault, that kind of thing. So, but you know, we were enduring it, and then COVID began, and everything stopped, as we all recall. And I also stopped because I had 3 young children at home learning at home. So I thought, you know what, I can't do my own work at home for school, as well as they were suggesting that we do online clinicals, which to me felt not viable at that time, and then I stepped away from that. So that was in 2020. I paused for a few years, actually, trying to figure out how do I go back to that, or do I want to go back to that, as I witnessed many friends in the healthcare field get pretty burned out during COVID, and I just really started to question, is this the right path for me? Which was a very heavy process and grieving, and it was a big deal to me because that was something I had planned to do even back in high school. I planned to go into medicine. So I found out through working with a few different professionals in different settings, as well as talking to people at South Central, that social work was a good potential path for me if I wanted to kind of live into what I felt one of my strengths was, which was caring for people through difficult circumstances. And that was what really drew me to the nursing field, and you know, I kind of sorted that out as I grieved the loss of that idea. So I started back in, I guess it was summer of 2023, and I have been a full-time student ever since, so I don't know what count I'm at now for semesters, but Abby was really instrumental in helping me kind of connect the dots. She was my advisor at South Central, really helping me kind of piece together the credits I needed, because I had several from nursing and what could we use. And she even went as far as going ahead to reach out to MSU here, knowing that that was my intent to go forward at MSU, even when I first started, just to make sure that they would accept certain credits that I had as substitutes for the ones that were required at South Central, which it was really seamless. Things went very fast with that. So I finished officially last summer at South Central. I did a little bit of a non-traditional thing, and that I really appreciate Deb working with me on that, the director of the social work program there, because it really helped me to get over here to MSU. I did have a lot of strange things that came up with my file because of my atypical path, but like Jess, I also kind of had to start and stop a couple different times, and so some of that was related to that. So I had weird issues with my student loans. We found out when I restarted at South Central that somehow I was never reported to the National Student Loan Database. So, you know, a year into my schooling, I got a bill for my student loans, and I was full-time in school and had been for 5 semesters. So it was very messy in certain ways, but everybody here was extremely responsive, and Abby was super helpful at helping me like not panic with some of the news that I was getting along the way, trying to, apply into my program and things like that. So I am now fully a part of the social work program, and I will graduate next May.
Excellent. Congrats. So this is working swimmingly. It never works this well. First of all, our audience has already realized the homework that I forgot to assign them, which is you can text your questions in, and I'll receive them up here to ask our panelists. But you've also already, some questions have started to trickle in, and you've begun touching on them, so it's perfect. Couldn't have transitioned any better if I tried. Jess, I want to bounce it back to you first. We talk a lot on our campuses about credits and how they transfer, but how they fit into programs and what that does for students' lengths of time. Can you talk a little bit specifically about your experience starting nursing at SCC and then switching to social work and coming here? Did your credits fit in smoothly? Do you have extra credits? Has it extended time? What's your experience been like with that credit transfer and major change?
So when I started in 2021 at South Central, I worked with an advisor. I don't recall them. I don't believe they're still at South Central. But she helped me understand like past credits, because I had started for nursing in 2007, and then I went back in 2013. And both those times didn't work out. So I did do some classes, but only like probably 8 to 12 credits really transferred on for me. So it did help. There was a few classes I got to skip and not do, like a communications class. Of course, I got a good grade in that class because I talk a lot. But so that like helped me. Those credits helped. So I didn't have to take as many classes at South Central. I have more credits than I need to graduate right now, just because I had taken those past classes. But it's never caused an issue at all. I've never had any issues with it. The only issue I ever had with like the credit situation was when I first came to MSU, I had to meet with an advisor who was just like a general advisor. It's what I was told I had to do when I got here. And that advisor did not. She told me I had to take a couple extra classes that I didn't need, like fitness, like
Goal Area
11. And I was like, I've never heard of this before. So that for me, then I went to Deb here, and she was like, you don't need that. Ignore that. So that was nice to actually have like a backup person to talk to. So just knowing that when someone gives you information, you don't have to listen. Not like don't listen, but like.
You sound like my kids.
I sound like my own children.
Right.
When you get first information and you question it, always double check with your like your social work advisor. Don't just listen to like a regular advisor who might not know the ins and outs of like your program. So that, I guess, I don't know if that was answered the question or not.
Yeah, no, that's helpful. Thank you. You both spoken a little bit, and you'll speak more, I'm sure, about the help you've gotten at each institution, right? At the 2-year side, how impactful that was. At the 4-year side, who's helped you inside. Can you talk about the attitudes of people in your lives outside of MSU and SCC? So as you've navigated, as you've decided to go to college, changed majors, shifted institutions, what level of support, I don't know, or not, maybe from outside have you experienced?
I've been very fortunate to really have, my spouse as my cheerleader with whatever I deemed the next right step for me, and also as a person to, have as a sounding board for what do I do here, especially with the COVID situation, and really making a huge decision to drop my long time intended career path. So that's been great. I think in general, my friends and people that find out, I work in a different field part-time as well, and people in that field tend to go, oh my gosh, I don't know how you're doing that, but it's good. I feel like that it's a positive thing overall, and I think anytime I'm out, I hear a lot of people commend this program and the school. So yeah, I feel very positive about it.
I feel the same pretty much. My partner was the one that was like, because I bartended for about 15 years of my life. That was like my main source of income for a long, long time. And I started during COVID. We all got basically told like go home and don't go back. But so that was kind of interesting for me because I had not worked since I was like, I don't know, I started babysitting for the kids down the street when I was 13 years old, and I just kept, working and working, And for me, that was the first like big break I had ever had in my like lifetime of working. And it was great. I thought it was great. I got chickens. I got to hang out with my kids all the time. It was really great. And then I had to go back to work, and it was a really big struggle because I think it took me I had worked so long in this service industry that I didn't realize how much of a strain it was on my life. And then I went back and I was like, oh my gosh, this is awful. And then I talked to my partner and I was like, I think I want to go back to school. And he was like, absolutely do it. Quit your job because you hate it. Just be happy, go to school, we'll figure it out. So that was like, I had a lot of really good support. I don't think it would have been as easy to do if I had to keep bartending and going to school. So I started working at South Central as a student worker, so that helped, and that was great, super, super great. I think I gained a lot of contacts from that and everything too, and I am so lucky to have people that are willing to like write me letters of recommendation, and it's been such a great experience. But I think if I didn't have my partner telling me like, we'll figure it out, I definitely would not have been as successful.
You both said a lot of really profound things, but I just want to draw a point on the fact you have chickens.
I do, yeah, I do.
We'll unpack that later.
That's fine.
Can you each speak to what's the transition been like for you from, in your case, Beth, multiple institutions to your institutions, and for both of you from South Central to MSU in terms of course delivery, course content, readiness for it? Has the transition been smooth? Have you felt prepared?
I think, so I completed the transfer pathway, so theoretically it's, supposed to be comparable to your first 2 years. I guess I noticed so semester 1 in the social work program, for those that aren't familiar, you kind of jump mostly into 300 level classes. The one thing that I noticed is that a few of my professors would refer to previous courses that are in the MSU, first 2 years of social work programs. So I guess in a sense that left me a little unsettled sometimes because the professor would refer, as you learned in 212 or whatever, and that would be a little distracting for me to think, I'd kind of drift off and go, I have no idea what she's talking about. So I eventually got the book for 212 so that I have it as a reference because I feel like it got brought up a lot, and the ideas that were being referred to, I had the sense that I don't recall specific discussions of this topic. So I guess my point in all of that is that I do think there could be better collaboration between a transfer pathway, class material, book choices, curricula content. I think that would really benefit students a lot, so that you don't feel like, well, we got something completely different. In my cohort is another student that came from South Central, so we're kind of at similar points in the track. And the one thing we love is that as SCC students, we did a junior field experience, which was not a part of the MSU first 2 year programs. So we feel advantaged for that in the sense that we got to actually be out in the world and have some real life experience in a social work type job already. But we have missed those aspects that felt like we have no idea what someone's referring to when they regularly talk about a class that we did not take. So there's that.
Also, going off of what you're saying, I think at South Central, when I was in the social work program, it felt more like the people teaching those classes were real social workers, like that had been in the social work field for a long time, and they could kind of give you more of like a hands-on education, whereas once I got to MSU, it was so academia. Like the social work people that were teaching at the time were just, they've been teaching. That's what they've been doing. They have probably been in the field, but it just didn't feel like comparable. Like, it felt like hands-on and then back, which it was good because you're getting a well-rounded education then. So, but I just felt like I had more hands-on, more people skills than some of my classmates might have had because they've been at an institution where they haven't been out in the field working with people, which doing the junior field helped a lot.
I guess just to give my piggyback on that, mine was a little bit of the opposite. I did and maybe it was the timing with coming out of COVID and stuff, but I had several classes online at SCC. And I remember talking with Kristen a little bit about some of my, the dean of our program at SCC, because some of the teachers were, this was not their priority. Let's just say that. And the online material was, it was a mess. And I had a couple classes that honestly, I went all the way through them, passed them with a strong A, but I felt like I did not learn anything from that class. And like a class like behavioral interventions, for example, was a class that I really thought would be very helpful, and I didn't feel like there was much instruction at all. So my experience was very different, with the exception of a handful, and particularly Deb obviously was instrumental in bringing that real world relation to the field. But at South Central, or excuse me, at MSU, the professors I've had, I'm trying to think, just thinking through everybody, I would say most of them are still working in the field somewhere and are doing real practice somewhere, not just in academia, but are still contracting or working out in the field in some way. So that has been my experience. So.
Great. I think both of you have done a really nice job of illustrating the complexity of transfer. And so there's a comment texted in and a lot of questions, but I think it's important, and we all know this, but to speak it out loud, right? That there is a lot of complexity to transfer. And so I think one example, just you shared the story of having some extra credits, but by nature, because you changed your major and had to go around. So there is complexity to that. Also, each of you has transitioned from one pathway major to another. Certainly we experience that a lot at MSU. I assume SCC does as well with students. Do the two of you have any advice or thoughts on what our institutions can do to help students find their major, find what they want to do sooner?
Are you asking?
If you do,
as
there's
transfer
millions of
students?
dollars at stake, because this is a bajillion
Well, I can
dollars.
talk all day, but no, are you asking as transfer students or just even new students?
We're looking for
freshmen
advice
starting.
as people that work at two-year colleges and four-year colleges. What should we be doing at South Central, at MSU, at Riverland, at other places to put our students in positions to reach that conclusion sooner?
I think I have a friend who wanted to do a pathway to get a psychology degree. And I thought that was fabulous. And Abby works with her, so she probably knows what I'm talking about. But I kind of was like, hey, I think that's a great idea. Are you going to go for your doctorate? And she was like, well, no. And I'm like, okay, well, psychology is kind of something that you want to think long term, because getting a bachelor's in psychology, there's a lot you can do with that. I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings. I'm just saying that the best, you're gonna be able to do more with a doctorate in psychology than you would with a bachelor's in psychology. And I'm a social work student, so I'm like, yeah, social work is the best. So I was like, you should just do social work. You can get a bachelor's in that and work with people for your degree. You don't have to go on. You could also get your master's and then still do therapy, still work with people in that style of that way. And so I think understanding what jobs are available for the level of schooling that you want to do. What other options are there? Giving them all laying it out and being like, hey, this is a great opportunity. Do you plan to do this, this, this? What's your end goal? Knowing their end goal and knowing what degree could be a better fit for their end goal. Not necessarily hurting, making them want to change their major, but just giving them all the options so they understand. Like me, I didn't have anybody go, oh, you want to do nursing? Do you like touching people and taking their blood? And I was like, nobody asked me that, and I just kind of my mom's a nurse, so I was like, it just seems like something I could do too. We're very similar, and nobody talked to me about hey, you're gonna have to go to school and take all these math classes, and I can't pass a math class to save my life, so.
Same.
So yeah, I did. I passed one, and now I'm in the program, and I don't have to take anymore. But I think just laying out the options and learning their dream. What is your dream? Waking up in the morning 5 years from now, what is your dream job? What do you want to do with your life? How do you want to live your life? And knowing that about them, then you can kind of say, hey, this would be a really good fit. We could tweak it this way so you can do that. Just knowing that knowing other options. because everybody has one thing in their head, like this is what I want to get a degree in, because psychology is super cool. But like knowing the options for jobs and like understanding, I guess, if that makes sense.
I think I would recommend, I have some nieces who are in their middle 20s, late 20s, and a couple of them are still really feeling unclear about what even to do, right? And I also worked with young adults for many years in the cosmetology industry, and there's a lot of pressure on people that you're supposed to decide something. However, I think a lot of people have the feeling, as Jess was alluding to, they don't really have all the information, right? They don't know what's out there, and you don't know what you don't know. So that's a huge hindrance when you're supposed to make a big decision about a path. So I think if I could have a utopian idea, what if there was something relating to, taking a couple large profession niches from each of the colleges and having real people talk about what they do in that field, so that it gives people a real life example of, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that was out there, Most people know about the big types of things, that they think are successful careers, teachers,
Pre-med.
lawyers, doctors, that kind of thing.
Pre-med.
Yeah, pre-med, obviously. But I think that a lot of people don't know how to make that leap from I'm here in high school or I'm here at a community college all the way up to I'm actually going to go work in a field and I'm able and competent. So that, I guess, would be something I would, if there was a way to do something like that, I think that would be really beneficial.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I question for both of you on that. Do either of you think at 18 years old, coming out of high school, you could have landed on social work as a field and been satisfied with that career moving forward?
I think I could have, but I don't personally regret that I didn't, because I feel that my 20 years of life experience since then, 20 plus, are going to be really beneficial to me in that field. And of course, again, I probably could have, but it might have been, something that now I can approach with better self-care and better boundaries and things like that, that of course, as an 18 to 20-year-old, I probably wouldn't have done it. Maybe I would have burned out and been like, I don't know what to do now, but that's at least just my feelings on that.
I'm going to say no. I think I had to wait till like my brain was fully developed to make that decision.
There is that.
Because at 18 I was, not.
We have that conversation a lot in my household. I have a college freshman and high schooler and middle schooler, but also in the world that I work in admissions, and all of us work in dealing with students that are the tremendous amount of pressure
so much
on 17,
pressure.
18, 19-year-olds to make decisions about what they're going to do for the rest of
And
their
they
life.
kind of melt, it just shuts them down, and people then begin to question, they have this idea that other people apparently can do this, but I can't, so I don't know, I gotta just leave, that's kind of at least what I've seen out in the field.
All right, we have a number of questions regarding college credits while you're in high school, so I assume Mike is sending them all in. Did either of you take college credits while in high school, whether they were PSEO, concurrent enrollment, AP, anything like that?
I took AP my senior year because I'm old, so it had just started to become a thing. I graduated in 2001 for context, and a lot of my classmates were not born yet, so just so you guys can appreciate that. But I did take AP classes, biology, English, calculus, in high school, and did get some credit for that. However, I still had to take statistics. And also, I wish there would have been more conversation about statistics for the social sciences, which is offered here, that I could have done some sort of consortium agreement instead of taking elementary stats, which was a great time.
She said sarcastically.
After not being in math for 20 plus years, it was really good.
Excellent.
It was terrible.
It was tough.
Got just a few minutes left, but some excellent questions. When you both were at South Central College, was MSU always the goal transitioning, or were there other places that you dreamed of going or thought of, or were pragmatic options for you?
Yeah, it was the goal for me when I decided on social work, because I valued the idea of an in-person experience. And in my junior field experience, that was solidified by working with a person who had done an online BSSW, and just the lack of social awareness and professional skills was really evident to me. That was something that was not even really a question for me.
Yeah, MSU was a goal for me as well. I didn't think I'd ever get here. I grew up literally on James Avenue, and I was like, I'll never go to that school. That's too big, too scary. Now I'm here, and it's pretty not big, not scary.
It's awesome.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's okay. 5 more minutes though? Yeah, okay, great. What would you say to students who are hesitant to meet with an advisor?
Go meet with your freaking advisor. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Or they will hunt you down, would also be a good option.
Like, do you want to graduate?
Right.
Do you want to do well? Meet with your advisor.
Yeah, and just trying to help them understand who the advisor is, I think is a really, they're your advocate, and they're there to get you as much information as you need.
Yeah. I guess I'm also an older student, so for me it was like, whatever, I'll just go hang out in my advisor's office. Like, it wasn't scary, but I could see how it's intimidating if you're not doing well or don't know what you want to do, because then you're feeling pressured. But always meet with your advisor. That's always my answer.
I don't know about you, but I would never cross a social worker. What percentage, just ballparking, right? So in your experience, what percentage of students in your 300 level courses are transfer pathway students?
I would say, are you saying 2 students?
2 students.
Yeah, I think there were 3 in mine.
So
when
pretty
I started.
small.
Actually,
3 out of 15 to 20.
We started with 2, but 1 switch majors. So just me.
I have 3 that, including myself, that I started with, and we're all still here.
Cool. Can either of you or both of you speak to your experience with financial aid? And so both and, right? Perhaps whether the financial aid at the 2-year and then the 4-year and that transition.
I can easily say, like, the biggest thing I noticed was, for anybody that you work with that stops and restarts, from my experience, just please make sure they get reported to the student loan database that they are an active student again, because that created about a week of weird waits and phone calls and stress for me. That was, hard to piece together at first, like, why am I getting this? And nobody could give me straight answers. So we did figure it out, and after a lot of time on the phone with my loan servicer and all that. So we figured it out. But that would be my number one thing, to just put it in the back of your mind that it happens, and it presents a problem for students, for sure, a stressor.
I was once again lucky enough to be a TRIO student, and I got to meet with my advisor, and she just kind of walked through it with me, because I was like, I know I did this when I was 18, but my mom did it with me. So I went to my advisor, and they helped me. So it's very simple.
Good deal. What would you say if you had some constructive feedback for us, all of us in the room, around your transition and what could have been done to help support you better, transitioning from 2-year to a 4-year campus?
I think the biggest thing that I would have appreciated was an in-person orientation. That was offered virtually, and it did not feel helpful, really, because it felt really chaotic. And in my experience with large virtual meetings, people will not ask questions. They're too worried or stressed about that kind of thing. So if anyone's taking notes, I would suggest that it would be really helpful. Obviously, if there are online students exclusively, they don't need to come in person. But people that might attend in person and they transferred to your university, I think it'd be really, really important to put that as a strong recommendation. Campus tour would be really great. Stopping at the CSU to help them get their IT stuff set up. EduRoam is a big hassle if you have certain types of devices.
Are you a Mac user?
Yes.
Ugh,
How did
gross.
you know? I am not alone, okay? No. Other things though, like, you would not believe how many people don't know how to log into Outlook or like use their MavMail. So people are like, oh, well, I don't use that email address, because in classes you share communications with each other, and people are like, well, I don't use that email. So really basic stuff that your professors are going to communicate with and other professionals. It's insane to me. But also like helping people navigate Authenticator. That's pretty ridiculous for anyone who loves it as much as I do. But showing people where the bookstore is, where financial aid advisors are, the library. Those things are all like, yeah, we have these things that you get on a virtual orientation, but not at all. Honestly, the only reason I felt confident to show up my first day is because I have a friend who's a criminal justice professor, and he gave me a personal tour. But not everybody has that, and thank you, Tyler Vaughn. He's amazing. All right, my other suggestions for specific things would be training for all advisors across the board here that discusses the nuances of transfer pathways. Because Jess and I, it sounds like, had a similar experience at Moment of Panic when we were told midway into trying to apply for our program, probably, that you don't have goal area 11, you need to take a performance class. And we're like, what? So thankfully, Abby Lane saved my fears and said, nope, that's not right. Let me talk to somebody. And she very quickly helped get that sorted out. The other thing I would recommend is just making sure everybody has a copy of like the school calendar. That's a really simple thing, and then that you don't have to like search for all these fundamentals on the website, which you can do. The last thing is talking to people about parking. Like, what is parking? How do you figure it out? Where should you park? What is the deal?
It's in the D2L module.
I know it is. I know it is. And yet it was still very confusing. Don't worry, I found it. But yeah, those are my big ones that as a transfer student were like, what? And again, because I had a personal contact, I got a lot of my questions answered, but that felt stressful before I did. So
I felt like my transfer was very seamless because I did get an on-campus tour. I did come to see the campus, and also the week before classes started, I like parked in the Freelet and walked to where my first class was. So I was like, now I know where it is.
Yep. How long did it take?
Yeah, it took me like 20 minutes to walk there.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think there was much that. The only issue was the credit situation was the only hard, like trying to navigate, like understanding, like, do I need to apply for this class like right now? Am I gonna get in?
Yeah.
Do I have to go to this?
The missing classes.
Whatever class, once a week. Yeah, there was not really much of an issue for me, honestly. It was pretty comfortable. I think the only thing that might have made it better was when I first came to like my first class, walking on campus, I didn't know anybody. And for me, that's like super strange because I feel like I always know everybody because I talk all the time. So coming to a campus with 21-year-olds who are very like, they aren't going to talk to you. Trust me. They're going to be like, oh my God, don't look at me. So for me, it was just, that was my difficult, like not knowing anybody to be like, hey, is this the right class? And it doesn't take long to get to know people. So that was good. But it was hard just coming to this huge school and not knowing one person.
Yeah,
like
and walking around and finding your class. And you just put in your own AirPods and act like no one else is there.
All right, last question. We're going to squeeze it in. What's the best piece of advice that you've gotten regarding this transition? Yes, I stumped him.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I got advice about the transition, but I do feel like I just want to express again my gratitude for the people that really were still there for me through South Central, like that I could still get a hold of, and they were still willing to help me, even though I was already concurrently enrolled and switched over.
You can't get rid of Abby, no matter how hard you try.
It's not going to happen, and just those people going to bat for you and like thinking of the creative ways to make it work. Because I too had like several extra credits and all those other things, but they can't be used, so it's just kind of like, well, it's over. But getting that extra kind of just creative approach to making it work and was awesome to feel like somebody was thinking through the things that I didn't know to think through. That was invaluable. So you advisors out there, like be that person that helps think through the difficult situations, because it made all the difference for me.
I don't think I have anything. I don't know. I'm trying to think of something.
It'll come to you as soon as we're done.
For real.
That's right.
Please join me in thanking our panelists. They were fabulous.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, too.
You're so welcome.
You stop at that table right there.
Oh, yeah.
Wait for me.
Okay, I will.
Okay. All right. Well, so what I learned there from Jessica, don't listen. right? You don't have to listen. But the other thing I learned is that if you go to South Central, you should really have Abby Lane as your advisor. Yeah, but you should, I know, and you should never really call someone out, but still, you're pretty amazing. I will tell you, though, that we do have a shared position with Abby this year, with South Central and with Minnesota State Mankato, so there's that. So keep doing the good work, everyone. I think it was fantastic. So, okay, let me see. Why is this so hard for me? Oh, I got it. First of all, let me ask, where is Mike Bilden? Oh, there you are. Excellent, Mike. Mike, will you come up, please? We have kind of a fun thing that Mike organized that we're going to do right now, and then we're going to get you off to lunch in a second. You know, let me tell them about lunch first, Mike, because all the excitement you're going to create might, yeah. So lunch is over there, and I think, my tongue, is it true, still on the right side? It's in the middle. In the middle, those people who have a special request for lunch, your name is on the box, and I guess it's in the middle. And then, so after this situation, grab a lunch and head to one of those rooms, and then we'll want you to return, because we're going to begin at 1 o'clock in the ballroom. All right? So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mike.
Thank you much. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Mike Bilden. I'm the director of transfer, the interim director of transfer initiatives here at MSU, and we have organized a drawing here because one of the other hats I wear is marketing, so naturally I will give away swag. And we are going to, when you came in, we wrote your name down on a card, and I'm going to do the best I can to not look in here. And Tressa has our giveaway item, which is a new promotional item here at the university, a tote bag for your Target and or Aldi run. So I'm going to draw 3 names. Well, all right, there's the first one. The first one is Becky Bates. Congrats, Becky. All right, our second one here is Melissa Iverson. And our last one goes to Jill Fisher. Congratulations, all. I think that's our cue to, is Jill here? Okay. All right, we will get that to her. I think this is our cue to go to lunch, as Terry mentioned. But thank you so much for attending today, and have a great rest of the day.